Hello everyone. Today I've spent a lot of time thinking about Lorne, and it's kind of scary. I spent most of the day thinking about him instead of working for once. And I was rereading the lawsuit he made against NBC, and the lawsuit that the USA made against him. One of them makes sense. One of the two lawsuits makes sense. I'm gonna let you guess which one. And I came to a few conclusions. The first is that I really need to improve my English. I used to say beta. It's not beta. It's beta. And I learned that today, and that is quite bad for me. And there's like management instead of management, and that one is bad too. I have to learn that. Well, I think I say infringement, and it's infringement. I don't know why I was saying it, but infringe. That's how you infringe on your copyright. But anyway, nobody cares. I thought about something while reading the lawsuit. All I wanted to say is that basically, if you have any resources to improve my English, I would appreciate. But the main topic I wanted to cover is that I was rereading the lawsuit, and the more I read what Lorne wrote, words of the God, words of the court. But the more I read what he wrote, the more I realize that he blames everyone but him. Every single person in the world. He blames everyone. It starts being kind of mild, okay? He only blames Chis Ensign, and he only blames Chis Ensign and Dateline. And then he goes on blaming the police. And eventually he blames KBI, the state attorney, and then eventually he blames the entire U.S. government, It's every single official in the U.S. government is guilty, and they ruined his life and everything. The more it progresses, the more he blames more and more people. There's a point eventually he says, he blames the judge. He says, the judge's decision was rushed, so it's his fault, That's his way of saying that, no, Lorne cannot be wrong. He has to win all the time, And he blames Sherry Twist and Southern Aphrodite. And he blames, it goes from blaming just perverted Chris Ensign to perverted justice, the police, the U.S. government, the judge. He even blames his attorney, his public defender. He says, it's his fault. I accepted the plea deal, and I'm the one who went to court. And Lorne actually received a letter that was extremely clear. If you accept the plea deal, you're going to get 66 months in jail. And that's very clear. And then he blames his attorney. He says, my attorney should have explored an entrapment defense. And, to blame one or two persons for what happened to you might be acceptable depending on the circumstances, but to go and blame your attorney, and then eventually he blames his family, I was exploited by my family, so I moved to Maine, I moved to Nashville, it's because I was in a vulnerable state, it's their fault. And at the very end of the lawsuit, he blamed the entire internet for ruining his reputation, I don't know what was left of his reputation to ruin. He's already a convicted child molester. Attempted child molester, I'm going to give him that. But at the very end, the last document we have in May 2015, he basically says, everyone is wrong, that's not how the U.S. was working, it's not how the U.S. was made. We are a land of law, and we need to rectify what was done to me. He says that basically because he doesn't want to be a sex offender. Fucking loser. He still wants a new trial. Jesus fuck. That was 8 years ago, Lorne. Get over it. He's still asking for a new trial. I want my old trial to be vacated, and I want a new trial. Fucking hell, Lorne. Are you for real? It's 8 years ago. Get over it. Fuck. And in the later documents of the pornography, he really starts to run out of steam. He runs out of idea of what bullshit he could write. and he actually started spouting pure nonsense, like especially on his appeal for NBC. And the judge basically told him, it was Brother Branson who made the remark to me. He said the judge basically told him an appeal would not be taken in good faith, meaning, shut up, dude, you're not gonna win. And he still does an appeal. He's fucking idiot. He paid for it, like, I'm gonna get an appeal, I'm gonna win an appeal, and he does it like by himself. Like, I don't even understand how to sue like someone, let alone sue someone for $18 million. Like, what is he suing for? That's something I never understand. Like, why 40 million? Like, if you calculate, let's say that NBC did ruin his life. So NBC has to pay the present value of his salary until he dies. How much did Lorne earn a year? During his best year, maybe 20,000. Maybe. You know, if you count everything, like he says he make 100K, but we know it's bullshit. He's a pathological liar. There's no way Lorne ever made more. Even in the army, probably made that. And probably didn't last long in the army. But let's say his best ever salary was probably like $30,000. Let's put an average. Like in Nashville, he probably made like $500 a month. If that, he couldn't even pay $20 gas to go see Kayla. Imagine if he didn't have the money. He's like, Kayla, I cannot come visit you this weekend. I don't have enough gas. Like, I don't have enough money. Can you perhaps wire some money to me? Your parents must give you money, Kayla, right? You have an allowance, you know? Send me some money so I can fill my truck. Oh, Lord, I'm going to send you $20. A bank transfer? I'm 13 years old. How do I do that? I don't know. And that's one thing. Lorne never had a bank account. Like, that's pretty fucking crazy. Like, it just doesn't have a bank account. Like, this is unbelievable. I didn't know some people were still like that. Like, we were in 2007. Fuck. He didn't have a bank account. He didn't have one in Nashville, and that one I might understand. But typically, when you have a bank account, there are many, like, you know, you can go a bank. Let's say you have an account with Bank of America. You can go in different states, and they're gonna have like a local place where you can withdraw money. But Lorne never had a bank account, so he did everything cash or check cashing place, assuming he was paid. Like, this is pretty insane. But all this to say, he's trying. Shut up, Avas. I don't care. I don't give a damn about your update. I never care. In like 5 years that I have it, nobody in the world cares about updates, about Avas. I don't even care about my other update. Just do them and shut up. I think I can turn it off somewhere. And it always does that when I'm recording. But anyway, I was thinking about Lorne. I lost my train of thought now. I had something to say, something interesting. Where was I? You see, Avast? You interrupted me, and now I don't remember what I wanted to say. It's like Lorne. I'm going to eat a sandwich, and I'm going to remember what I want to say. What's going on? It's everyone's fault. Yeah, the $40 million figure. So Lorne was earning maybe 15,000 US on average. So he was convicted when he was 37, okay, on his birthday. He was going to work for maybe 30 years. So 30 years, let's be generous, put it at 20,000. 30 years times 20,000 a year, that's $600,000. Calculate the present value, because you know some payment are in the future, you gotta discount them. That's maybe $400,000. So where does he go? That's like 1% of what he asked. And I'm not even talking punitive damage, punitive damage or anything. I'm just saying, even if Lorne had a case, the amount he's entitled to is much closer to $500,000 to 40 million. It's just an amount that doesn't make sense. Of course, you go and say that they ruined his career as a country singer, but that's not how the legal system works, Lorne. I cannot go outside and say, the town, there's a truck that almost hit me, and I became so traumatized with it that I had to stop my career, and I was gonna become the best painter in the world. So now the city owes me $100 million. That's not how it works, Lorne. You have to have proof. To prove that they actually caused $40 million of damage. Like, even if you had a lawsuit, which you don't, to prove that they owe you $40 million. It's quite hard to prove, okay? Like, it's not just like filling a form in your prison and then I'm gonna wait for the settlement offer. NBC is gonna offer me a settlement. They're gonna call me. They're gonna beg me, take $5 million, Lorne, please, please. And I'm gonna say no. I want the full 40. How does he get to that figure? That's completely insane. And in what universe did Lorne seriously believe that he has any chance against NBC in a court? You know, a business that is worth billion, and somehow he think that Lorne Armstrong alone, or with his prison pals that are like his legal advisor. And there's a part in the Lorneography where he says, I want an extension of time because, I want an extension to file my response because my legal advisor has been let out on parole. I hate when that happens, you know? You try to sue someone and you have a legal advisor and he says, well, I need to stop. Why? Well, I'm getting out of jail now. I'm going on parole. Oh, damn, who am I going to use to sue? In what universe did Lorne seriously believe he had a chance? Like, even 1 in a trillion chance against NBC. You can bet they have big shot lawyers. In fact, they had Hilary Lane, and she seems very good as a lawyer. So NBC has some big shot lawyers, and Lorne somehow believes that he alone is going to defeat NBC in court. Like, even if he did somehow got his trial, what was he going to say? He doesn't even have any idea how a trial works. And even if he did, I mean, you're facing a team of millionaire lawyers, and you can bet an NBC edged its bet before doing the show. You know, they consulted with some legal expert to make sure it was legal. And the legal expert probably said something like, don't act like you're a cop, to Chris Hansen and all that. And I'm pretty sure that before the show is aired, the lawyers watch it and they say, okay, that part here, you should remove it. It's not, it's a gray zone and all that. But then again, they let the part in Texas air about the prosecutor. Like, if I was a lawyer, I would have removed everything about the prosecutor, but the assistant prosecutor. But then again, it's done. So even if you show it, I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe I would have cut it out. Maybe the lawyer made a mistake. We'll never know. Maybe not. Maybe everything Dateline did was perfectly legal. We will never know because the lawsuit was settled out of court. All this to say about Lorne. He's completely insane. To think that he has even a chance in a million to defeat NBC in court. What is he thinking? If I wanted to sue anyone, like especially a big company, I would get a lawyer. You don't. It's their game. It's their court. You're not gonna win alone unless you're some kind of legal prodigy and you just like. Even there, it takes years and years and years to become even remotely good in any field of law. Nope. But Lorne, nope. He thinks that he reads as is a prison library, and he thinks that by himself he's going to be able to do everything correctly. And the simple fact that he filed his lawsuit 3 years too late, and he somehow tries to rationalize that and say, no, but that's not an invasion of privacy. That's an intentional infliction of emotional distress. Like, he plays around with the legal jargon. Anyway, it's just pretty weird. But to go back to my main topic about Lorne, it's everyone's fault but him. The more you read the lawsuit, and I read it several times, and I still chuckled and laugh. I'm gonna use a new word that I just learned. I still shortle, or is it curtle? I don't know. But anyway, I still laugh at the many parts of it. When he begs his mother, and the mother writes to the court, and she doesn't want to put her name. She doesn't want to put Gwendolyn, so she put Linda G. Armstrong, like it's somehow protecting her identity, like. And the fact that he somehow conned his mother into sending like $350 to the court for a bogus lawsuit. I don't know how Lorne pulled that off. Lorne kind of strikes me as the kind of guy that he's a con man. Of course, he is a con man. He scams some people, but the kind of guy that is not really purely like evil, not when it comes to selling like crap, like not a snake oil salesman, but some guy that is way too naive, he's way too dim-witted, I should say that. Like, when he goes and When he goes and scams Durango Mango, for example, he doesn't see a problem with it. He's so caught up in his mental processes and rationalization. He's not the kind of guy that goes and do evil for the sake of evil. Not when it comes to con. Maybe with Kayla, we'll talk about it later. But he does that in his mind. It's okay, and it's the kind of guy that he would sell you some multi-level marketing stuff, like a pyramid scheme. He would go and say, "Oh, give me $100, and 5 people are going to give you $100, and you're going to be rich quick." Lorne is the kind of guy that probably falls for the get rich quick schemes, but not because he's bad and he wants to steal from people, but because he can easily get enthralled by an idea. Like when he starts something, no matter what it is, he really gets into it completely for a moment. So when he starts singing karaoke, suddenly he thinks that he's going to be a superstar. And when he starts talking to Kayla, he believes that he's going to be married to her. And when he starts preparing Durango Mango's house, he sees himself leading a multi-billion company, like the biggest construction company in the world and all that. When he starts selling tickets, he's not selling tickets. He's selling tickets to a show that sounds like the Beatles used to sound and all that. He's the kind of guy that can get easily into a new project, but he has no commitment. He can give up like this. One day, he's going to be the best singer in the world. The next day, he gives up. Same for everything. I'm going to bet for everything he did, he was like that. He joined the army. He probably saw himself general within a month. He thought that he would join the army, and then they would say, "Wow, Lorne, you have such a good strategic acumen. Forget it, private. You're now a colonel, and next week you're going to be admiral. You're going to be leading our fleets." I apologize if I mess up. If there's any soldiers or members of the force listening, I apologize for butchering the titles. I don't know them. You're going to be a lieutenant general, and you're going to be leading the invasion force to hunt Osama bin Laden. That was before, so that's okay. That's how Lorne sees it. And he's somebody that is never going to be satisfied with what he had. But I'm going to keep that for another day. For now, I just want to repeat that the more I read the lawsuit, the more I realize that Lorne never did anything wrong in his life, according to him. Not that he's perfect. He has no self-criticism. He never stops for a moment and say, "What did I do wrong? What mistakes did I make?" He never does that, and you can see that in the chat log, in the holy pornography, but you can see that in the lawsuit. And it's not just an act; he's always like that. The more I study Lorne, the more I'm convinced that he's a narcissist. And Thick Sticks might be right about that. I might do an episode on that. He didn't strike me as a typical narcissist, because most narcissists that I know and meet are people that actually do at least okay in life, and they're at least a little bit smart. I'm going to go more into details, but it's very possible that Lorne had a very demeasured vision of himself. Maybe he saw himself as the top dog in the world, and the only reason he didn't succeed yet is because the entire world is against him. I'm still not sure though. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. It's fantastic to study how everyone in the world is to blame for Lorne's problem except for him. He goes and say, for example, "My dumbass brothers and sister, they stole me for money, blah, blah, blah." He blames his neighbors for bothering him. He blames everyone. It's crazy. In the lawsuit, it's very clearly illustrated. At one point, he even blames the clerk. He blames his psychologist at one point. And he blames everyone, and he blames the court system for being too slow. It never ends. Lorne must spend his day blaming everyone for what happened to him. He never did anything wrong. He's a victim. He's a perpetual, never-ending victim. And that's something that you find with little kids. Kids that is 6 or 7. When something bad happens, and even if they do something wrong, let's say they steal a cookie from the cookie jar, they try to act as victim. "It's not my fault. I was hungry. I didn't do it. I never even meant to do it." So the more I study that, I'm still not sure if Lorne is a narcissist, but the more I study it, the more I'm convinced that Lorne acts like a kid. The fake crying, of course, the immaturity, and the strong, immediate reactions. But his entire mentality and mind is reminiscent of a kid. Like the way he says Mr. Penis, that's like a little kid would do that. Like if you take two little like two toddlers, two young kids, and a girl and a guy, and they play like doctors, that's the kind of stuff they would do. They would say like Mr. Penis, like that's my, and they would say like they would put like a mustache on him. I don't know. That's the kind of thing little kids do. But really, the fact that Lorne, he blames everyone. He never accepts any parts of responsibility for anything. None whatsoever. Not even 1% of it. Like for example, at one point, he has to face the fact that he did a chat. Instead of saying, yes, I had the chat, he says, I was vulnerable. She's the one that hit on me. She manipulated me, and I told her no many, many times. And eventually, I was weak and I accepted to come, but I wasn't gonna have sex with her. I just accepted to come because it was my birthday, and she was playing guilt trip on me, and I was feeling too bad. Like if I didn't show up, I would have felt too guilty. I didn't want to feel guilty on my birthday, so I showed up because of that. She used her female powers on me. There's even a point in the pornography, I don't want to talk about it, but he talks about the delay, and he says like the typewriter at the library was broken. No, he says there was only one typewriter and somebody else was using it, so that's why there's a delay in my response. So it's pretty insane. Lorne is the kind of guy, he walks on the street and he sees someone, he says, this guy, it's his fault that I failed. I never met him, I'm never going to see him again, but it's still his fault. And I thought that aspect was fascinating about Lorne. So thanks for listening. I'm going to go and cook. You can learn a lot from studying Lorne. And I still hope that one day Lorne will be studied in psychology, because he's a fascinating specimen. Like, I love psychology a lot. I still love it. I used to study it like 12 hours a day, maybe 10 hours a day. Today I'm into other passions, but I still love it. Lorne is a phenomenal specimen to study. I wish I could study him like in details, his childhood, because ironically I said that Lorne ironically anyway, I said that Lorne blames everyone. There are two people he doesn't blame. He even blames his dog at one point, he says the dog made a mess on me, blah blah blah. And it's funny, like he blames his dog for like he has to interrupt me and I have to leave, I have to stop talking to you because I have to make him go pee, blah blah blah. But there are only two people Lorne doesn't blame. And ironically, it's the two person he should probably blame. He never blames himself. He's never wrong. And he never blames his mother. His mother never did anything wrong. And I think his mother is a huge reason that Lorne ended up that way. For various reasons. And I'm going to talk about that more into details. I don't blame her. I'm not saying she's guilty for what he tried to do. And I don't know. She probably did her best. But at the same time, okay, she had 6 kids. They were extremely poor, 6 kids. She never, she worked, even at 65, he says at one point, Lorne, that she still works like part-time in a grocery store. Like at 65 years old, and she moves a lot. She never really owned a house, so I'm guessing she was renting. And I look at the house that Lorne grew up in, and they're quite bad houses, And she was alone to raise 6 kids, so it makes sense. But at the same time, she still made those 6 kids. So to make 6 kids when you're that poor, she has a part of responsibility for what happened. There's more. I want to cover that later on. I just want to say that if Lorne really wanted help, it's too late now. He should have done that when he was like 25. He could have done a psychotherapy and studied his childhood, because most of his problems, if not all of them, stemmed from that. Or maybe he's just a psychopath. We don't know that for sure. Maybe he was born that way. But I'm telling you that the way he grew up in poverty and, not always eating to society, not always eating enough to go to a poor high school, like that looked very derelict and all that, and the abuse he grew up into, and he talks about it very, very slightly. And to not have a father, that's another thing. She married a guy that ran away, never sent any money. She never sued him, never sent the police after him. Like, come on, you have some resources, Her mother, I think Lorne should really study his childhood and his relationship with his mother, because a lot of his problems seems to emanate from his childhood, and specifically from the relationship with his mother. He's such a mommy's boy. It's not normal to be to act like that. And the fact that his mother like covered for him for some of his scams, that pissed me off so much. Like she covered for him, so she's guilty as well. Okay, she partook in his scam. So don't go ahead and say no, she's white ass. No, she did the best she could. No. She defended Lorne. She paid for his lawsuit instead of telling him, Lorne, your lawsuit has nonsense. I'm not wasting money on that. She chose to defend him, not just because he's her son, but the fact that when he did a scam, Durango Mango was talking about that, and she covered for him, she protected him, and she lied for him. That pisses me off so much. I'm so tired of excuses. So the only two people that Lorne should really blame are himself and his family, basically. Also his brothers, but it's harder to blame them because, they were growing up with him, and if they were acting wrongfully with him, it was the mother's job to fix the problem, and she didn't. So I blame the mother more than his brothers and sisters. So that's quite interesting. He blames the wrong person, always the wrong person. It's quite telling. So that's what I wanted to say. Thanks for listening. It's always interesting to study Lorne. As I said, I've never seen somebody being so vocal and blaming everyone. I mean, at this point, who's left to blame? He's already accused everyone of everything. I wonder if in like 5 or 10 years from now, Lorne is gonna go and say, maybe this was my fault. Probably not. Have a good night, everyone.